A middle school in Pennsylvania is coming under fire, rightfully so, after they greenlit the installation of windows inside gender inclusive bathrooms, allowing students, teachers, and other passersby to see inside of the bathrooms from the hallway. These new windows are being installed at Emory H. Markle Middle School in Hanover, Pennsylvania. This story began to make waves after one parent named Jennifer Holohan learned about the renovations from her son, and she saw this image here. You can take a look. That's horrifying. That's a window in a bathroom. The addition of the windows was advanced to comply with guidance from the Independence Law Center. Okay, so for more on what that is, this is from the Evening Sun. The Independence Law Center is a religious law firm known for consulting on pro-Christian, anti-LGBTQ school district policies. The Southwestern Board has recently contracted with the ILC that guidance that the board argued increased oversight for the wash areas. The windows only make the wash areas of the bathroom visible from the school's hallway, not the actual commode areas, not the loo part of the bathrooms. So now the question is why? Why are we doing any of this? Why are we spending money on this? Here's what the school board is saying. In a statement provided on Wednesday, school board president Matt Gilazella cited student safety for the decision, stating that in making the area outside of stalls more viewable, we are better able to monitor for a multitude of prohibited activities, such as any possible vaping, drug use, bullying, or absenteeism. Galazella's statement added that students should not consider the space outside of our stalls as private within the multi-user restrooms, and that the areas between our stalls and sinks in multi-user restrooms are not private changing areas. They're supposed to be a little bit. They did clarify that they will make sure that the toilets and urinals are more fully enclosed and not visible from the window. But here is the thing. The gender identity bathrooms are 2 of the 5 bathroom options at Southwestern, which currently has bathroom options for male, female, male gender identifying, female gender identifying, and single stall private bathrooms. The windows were only cut into the male and female gender inclusive bathrooms of the school, referred to as gang restrooms 2210 and 2214, according to the agenda for the August board meeting that approved them. Cenk, this is crazy. There's a lot of things that need to happen in restrooms besides actually going to the bathroom, things that need to happen at the sinks that would I would imagine for middle school children, that would need to be kept private. There's so much stuff that goes on when you're in middle school. Your entire body is changing. You need privacy. It's so creepy. And then using vaping as an excuse for it. We know that that's not what they're doing. Cenk, there is more to this story, but this is exactly why people need to vote in local elections, because this entire school board needs to be overturned.
Yeah. Look, I have a theory. Republican politicians are perverts. So let me back it up. First of all, now they want to look into kids' bathrooms. Who puts a window in a bathroom where everybody can look at it? I mean, is this really a conversation? They really thought this was a good idea? And remember, they wanted to check to see if trans girls are competing with biological girls at the high school level? At the high school and junior high school level? So in order to do that, somebody's got to volunteer to check their genitalia. Oh, I bet a lot of Republicans are going to volunteer for that one. We did a story a while back where they wanted to pass regulation. Regulation, really? On what? Because I thought they hated regulation. On porn. And it would create a job where one person would have to watch all that porn. Okay, if you say so, guys, if you say so. I'm sure you're really concerned about the kids. That's why you got to always look at them in the bathroom and check their genitalia and maybe look at porn about them, etc. Well, you're concerned in some direction. So no, I got kids in middle school and in high school. I'm not going to let any pervert put windows and glass in the bathrooms to look at them when they're in the bathroom. You crazy? What happened to family values? What happened to protecting the kids? You know what groomers would love? Windows in bathrooms. Is this complicated? Unreal. Now, fellow progressive host David Pakman has a different theory on it. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But first, Mondale.
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, this to me, I'm over here flabbergasted. I'm a country guy. When I went to school, we had concrete walls in front of the bathrooms. If they're worried about vaping And bullying, where's the window in the teacher's lounge? Put a window in the teacher's lounge. Let us see what they're doing. I'm absolutely disgusted that this is taxpayers' dollars being spent in Pennsylvania. What year are we in? This is absolutely access for groomers. If my kids were in this school, I would lose my mind. We would absolutely be recalling every one of those school board members immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we actually do have some information about the parents who brought up that concern. She came forward. She, by the way, was not notified by the district of the change of these windows that were being put in. They didn't say anything to the parents. She just found out through her kid. But she shot down any arguments that the school was offering that this is for safety purposes. Holohan stated, first off, this will only encourage students to use the non-gender inclusive bathrooms for the said prohibited activity like vaping. She said, I was a kid at one time. If I was going to get in trouble, it wouldn't just be the one bathroom. Like, we only smoke cigarettes in the gender inclusive bathroom. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. She also argued that this will lead to even more bullying and having their privacy invaded. She said, it just raised a ton of concerns for me, privacy concerns, safety concerns, concerns for the kids who need those facilities. I feel like this is a deterrent to keep them from using them. So the Independence Law Center that approved the windows is trying to now backpedal their suggestion after this went viral and everybody's talking about it after, we're talking about it here. And they're trying to argue that this was all really just about protecting the children because it's always just about protecting the children. Randall Wenger, the chief counsel of the Independence Law Center, said this. He said, the ILC supports the goal of parents and school districts to see that everyone is treated with respect and that the privacy rights of all students are protected. It's the position of the ILC that privacy in multi-user facilities starts at the door of the room, not the door of stalls, which have gaps and spaces all around. In such facilities, there should be no direct line of sight into multi-user bathrooms from public areas like hallways if facility improvements are made to convert facilities to the higher level of privacy that one expects from the opposite sex, like the bathrooms on airplanes. The room can open to a public area, which allows the district to accomplish goals such as monitoring a multitude of prohibited activities. It appears now that 48 hours after this story first started to circulate, the windows have been boarded up, but it's unclear whether or not this is permanent. This is crazy. This is such a waste of money, if nothing else, right? And also, it feels just like a police state that these kids are living under. Like, they're not worried about the guns as much as they're worried about what bathroom these kids are using. Like, the priorities are all over the place and it's a waste of money. So they've already cut out all these windows in these schools and now they're just boarding them up.
Yeah, there's so many good points in there. You're worried about safety in the schools, but we won't do gun control, but you're gonna put windows in bathrooms. Okay, and that point about vaping is so good. When I was going to middle school and high school, this is a while back, right? We didn't have the vaping, but we had smoking. But none of the people there none of the kids would ever smoke in the girls' or boys' bathroom. They were waiting for gender-inclusive bathrooms. Why would it only be in gender-inclusive bathrooms? This is such an obvious lie, right?
I got it, Jake. I got it.
What is it?
Big Tobacco created gender inclusive bathrooms.
Yeah.
They knew it.
I'm sure that's
ahead of the curve on that one.
Yeah. So then what are they actually worried about? And then why are they mentioning safety? Because there's this ridiculous idea that boys are going to pretend to be girls and go in the gender inclusive bathrooms and then assault the girls, right? Or assault. Now, look, guys, boys can do silly things, but they're not going to change their entire gender to do these type of things. That's just. But David Pakman came up with a pretty good reason why Republicans might be doing projection and thinking there could be safety issues in a bathroom. Let's watch.
Here's a fascinating little tidbit. More Republican lawmakers have been arrested for sexual misconduct in bathrooms than transgender people have. 3 Republicans I will tell you about. We will start with John Hinson, who was in 1981 arrested for having oral sex in the US House of Representatives bathroom with a male staffer. 5 years earlier, he was also arrested for exposing himself to an undercover agent. That same year, I'm sorry. Then that gets us to Larry Craig. You might remember Larry Wide Stance in the airport bathroom Craig, who was arrested. It's amazing, but it's been 10 years in 2007 for lewd conduct after presumably propositioning an undercover police officer for sex in a Minneapolis airport. And the same year, Bob Allen, a Florida state representative, was arrested for paying an undercover police officer $20 to allow him to perform oral sex on him in a bathroom at a public park. So throughout US history, there's a grand total of 0 transgender people that have been arrested for a sexual crime in a bathroom. I'd call it irony, but it's actually way worse.
Yeah, I think it's just projection, and that was 7 years ago, so we might have added more Republicans since then.
Yeah, it's an insane story. They always like to tell on themselves, right? Everything that they accuse everybody else of doing, they do it themselves. And I know that's such a tired old line at this point, but it's so true, and it just keeps happening. And it's really just like, whenever people say things like, "Oh, if I was that person, if I was in that situation, that's what I would do," and it's like, you can't assume that everyone else is also going to do that just because that's what you're going to do. I think it says a lot about you that that's what you would do. And people like this are now being found out. And I think it's a good thing. So I'm all for less windows in bathrooms. These aren't even like outside facing windows or not even like getting some sunlight or anything like that. This is just like in the hallway. It's insane. It's incredibly invasive. So,
okay,
Mondale, any last thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I have one last quick thought, which is if they told me, hey, Cenk, your daughter's in middle school and we're gonna put windows in the bathrooms because, and I said, no, aren't you worried about transgender people assaulting her in the gender inclusive bathroom? I would have said, no, I'm worried about the guy building the window. The guy who wanted to build a window is the one I'm worried about.
Exactly. I think just two things real quick to round us up. The first one is, isn't it interesting that they say that they're trying to protect kids? If you were trying to protect kids and prevent them from bullying, wouldn't you just make all of the bathrooms gender inclusive so people wouldn't know why the people were going to those bathrooms if you were truly trying to protect these kids and keep them from bullying? And then the second thing is, isn't it amazing how fast ILC sold out the school district?
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.